What's happening? Ronin here. I want to give you guys an introduction here and a behind the scenes kind of thing. And I got Gabe on the line. Gabe, how you doing?
Hey, what's up?
Hey,
How's it going,
yeah,
Ronin?
yeah. Listen, Gabe is in Unblackmailable, so we're doing a call right now, and this is a call we would have done in the usually, but because this topic is he's got a very important question. But I thought to myself, this is the type of question that a lot of guys need to hear the answer, or even if there isn't a particular answer, it's a mindset, that is important, right? Are you there?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So I want to give you quick first, just make a nice introduction. Like, who are you? Anything about whatever you want to say.
Yeah. I'm Gabe. I live in New York. Blue collar worker. I've been with Paul. I've been going to the events and been on Blackmailable for a couple years now. It's been a while actually, Paul.
Wow, it's been a couple
Well,
years.
that I got
Okay.
involved with. Well, that I first got into your work, yeah. So, and I'm MGTOW in the sense that I go my own way, but I date. I still date women. I'm not. What do they call it? When you don't monk mode. I'm not a monk mode.
Right.
So,
And then how old are you?
well, I'm 30.
Okay. Cool. All right. And I want to say, you guys, like, just to kind of, this is going to be a surprise to Gabe. I don't know if it'll be a surprise or not. Actually, probably not. But when we first started talking, it was difficult. It was painful from my side. I have seen your progress. Your progress has been like,
Jeez.
no, really, it's been so amazing. Like, I've seen you change in ways that are just amazing, just amazing. When I first talked to you, like, it was like, remember Beavis and Butthead? You ever watch Beavis and Butthead?
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
Like the guy's always
Yes.
like, and then he's like, then he would answer right, and then there was nothing, and it was hilarious. I mean, I love, by the way, I freaking love Beavis and Butthead. I was a huge fan. The Trailer Park Boys, Beavis and Butthead, the young ones. I mean, any of those kind of like slapstick fucking humor for guys, I love. But the thing is when we would talk about anything, and it would be a very serious topic, you would do that, and it was a sense where you didn't. It was very difficult to get past that. I don't even know what you call it. It's not a persona. It was a block to any real
Right.
conversation, really.
Right.
And it just
Yeah.
felt it felt like hopeless. Like, I was like, oh man, this guy. I don't even know if I can do this. Like, because I can't.
Oh,
The reason why I do this is to help people, right? It's not
yeah.
to do. And there's no other reason. I want to help. It's like, want to get in deep, and I want to like share, right? And then also learn and grow myself, right? Because I also learn and
Yeah.
grow when I watch other people grow and learn too. So, but I was like, oh man, I don't know what's going to happen with this. But then I confronted you one time, and I remember I was really ready for you at the moment. I was ready for you to say something like, "Hey, I want my money back. I'm out of here." And
Really?
yeah, I
Really?
wasn't
Oh,
sure because a lot of guys these days are. It's like they have a very thin, uh, like there's a veneer. There's an insecurity in men today that is just. It's like one little push, and they're just gone. They just collapse. And that it could either be the result could either be like an angry outburst, or it could be like a severe backlash, like online posting or whatever. And that is, to me, it's really like, I don't know if it's today or if it always was. Maybe it was always like this, but for myself, like, I like, that's not at all where I want to go. Like, I'm not. Uh, I don't want friends like that, and I don't want to be like that. And whenever you're around that too much, if you accept something in your life, right, then it becomes part of you.
yeah.
Like, if I wa-
Right.
if I look the other way when you do that, I'm also part of it. I'm
Right.
I'm selling my soul too, just because I'm letting you do that. And it's not that.
Right.
And the difficult part, obviously, is that nobody is always right. And I'm not saying like my judgment is always right, but this was my feeling at the time, and it's been really, really like very, very rewarding to watch you. I like seriously, like you are a case like study in this. Like where you were and where you are today is amazing. Like really, I'm not kidding. And I remember too. I'm gonna say something else. I remember the second time it happened was when I don't remember what happened exactly. Maybe you can describe. But we were walking along Soy 11 that night recently at the Thai event, one of the Thai events, and
Right.
you said something to me like, I kind of got angry at you and I shut you off for a while, and then after that you came back. Like, maybe you could describe that because the reason why is because I think when we are confronting incredibly difficult things. Okay, I mean, really, there's two aspects of this. One is the thin veneer of a lot of men, right, where they're just like very insecure. And I'll tell you something: women can spot this. A deep,
Right.
a secure man who has almost the sense of death or a black hole is a man. Okay, there is a security in that man, and other men can feel that security. It doesn't mean that he's always
Yeah.
right about everything, but there is a sense where he knows kind of where he's at, and he knows, you know what I mean? Like there's a security there.
Right.
It's not
Well,
like,
let me ask you a question on that.
yeah,
Is part of that like accepting the insecurities? Is part of that being willing to be insecure
I don't
in some
know.
paradoxical kind of way?
I don't know what it is. I don't know really. I haven't really thought about what causes it, other than like having. I think when that comes up, it needs to be challenged. When you see it in people, you need to challenge it because if you don't, you fall into that same trap that I could have fallen into. And it's a very easy trap
Right.
to fall into because it's very comfortable. I mean, that's what people want you to do. That's what your friends
Right.
they want you to look the other way because that's what everybody
Right.
else does, right? So I think that I don't know what causes it exactly, and I don't know what cures it. I think it's one of these things like friendship, love, or security that there is no exact answer, but there is there is, what do you say, like certain men and groups of men I think get to this point and other men don't. So like let's try whatever we can, to get to that point. And I think it's about a self honesty and admitting that you're wrong and that you made a mistake, and also admitting things that you know are going to make you look bad. I think that's another key part.
Right.
It's a taking
Yeah.
responsibility type of attitude, and it's kind of like almost regardless of how the other person reacts. It's like I'm going to do this because this is the best path for me type of attitude. I'll think about it during the call, but go ahead. What were you going to say?
Just to speak on your programs, definitely part of my growth for sure has been being around other strong men. You and then the guys that come to the events, and I think that has to kind of, I don't want to say validation, but there's some kind of learning that goes on when you're with those men that aren't your father, right? There's some things that I think you can learn from, that you can only pick up from other men that are, I guess, maybe where you want to be, or higher in the hierarchy or something like that, that aren't your father. And spending time with you guys in that capacity has really helped me a lot because you guys have been very encouraging as far as like, oh, you guys essentially treat me like an equal to you guys, and that kind of, in some way, makes me have higher expectations of myself.
Oh yeah, I get that. I get that. I would even take the father thing out of it because a lot of fathers don't have what we're talking about right now.
Right.
There are
Right.
men
Exactly.
there are men in their 70s who never ever reached this and never even tried to reach it. And I have like discussions with people online all the time, like especially on Twitter, and I can sense it's very obvious to me that there are men who are in their 70s who have never uh, reached this. I'm not going to say like any particular word. They're completely on a different planet, and there is an insecurity there that is so deep. I think for myself, there's many things you were saying, like the acceptance and the kind of like people treating you as an equal motivates you and makes you feel, it gets you to that next point. For me, that definitely is true. And but also, I will say something too about women is that when I there was at some point, I don't remember when it was, but I used to think that women they could not see me clearly, like that they would be easily fooled by me. In other words, like if I told them something, if I acted secure about something, then they would believe me or something. And there was a point when I realized that if anything, women are better at seeing through men than men are. And I was
Yeah.
like, and that was really embarrassing when I discovered that, because I realized that the women I was boning at the time, right, uh, they could see my insecurities and they were okay with it. And but they knew I was insecure. They knew that there was a limit to how far. And I think before that, I was living in a bit of a fantasy land where I thought, I guess I assumed that I could handle anything, and I was like totally a man, like for whatever reason. And when I realized that, I guess what it is too is that this was very fundamental for me. I remember I was listening to some people speak once. It was a guy, and he was saying, I was okay. We went out to lunch, and his coffee was not warm, and so he complained. And then we went to a meeting later, and he said, I got my coffee. It wasn't any good, but I was really angry about that. But I didn't show, the waitress, because it happens every time. Blah blah blah. All his excuses, whatever. And he said I didn't let her know. Nobody knew, but I was very upset, so I want to let it out now. And
Yeah.
of course, I didn't say anything because it wasn't my place at this meeting. But I remember thinking, oh man, it was really obvious that he was angry. Like it was
Yeah.
really, really obvious. And I
Yeah.
can guarantee you 100 million% to the ends of the earth that everybody, even the tables next to us, knew he was unhappy with his coffee, right? So,
Right.
but the interesting part about it was that he said that no one knew. Okay, so he assumed that his feelings and anger is a feeling. Okay, his feelings were not visible to others, and his and insecurity is like right up there. It's a deep emotion, right? It's connected to very deep emotions, right? Feelings, and
Right.
that shit is very obvious to people. And I think that helped me to change myself at a much quicker rate. And because I think a lot of people think that nobody knows. Okay, it's like the guy who thinks he's still in the closet, right?
Right.
You know,
Well, the
everybody knows.
cliche when you say, oh, hey, how are you doing, or whatever, and so, oh, fine, and you say, okay, like obviously you're not, but yeah,
Right.
and
But the key thing, but what I say is like the key thing is that the one of the excuses for not changing, okay, that people have in their minds is that they think that it's going pretty well as it is. Like things are okay right now. Like people don't know. I'll work on it when I need to. But
right,
the reality is that everybody sees your insecurities. They're super obvious, and your feelings are super obvious to both men and women.
yeah,
And
and I agree with you. That's more clear to women. Took a long time for me to realize that
yeah,
they know more than I know about what I'm doing and how I'm behaving. So
I don't know if they know more or less. I think it depends on the girl. But I just the idea that a woman could see my insecurities clearly and was still okay with it was mind-boggling to me, because then I realized, like, this was very fundamental actually for me, because I realized that one, I can't cover stuff up, and so because of that, there's no reason to wait. Okay, there's no reason to
right,
wait to work on things. Like everybody already knows. Your desire your need to change. I realize that, okay, nothing is secret. Okay, even now, when people are listening to this, they're going to hear mistakes in my logic. They're going to hear mistakes in my life, people in my life. Like, there's nothing stopping me from changing. Like, let's fucking do it. everybody fucking knows. And that helped me to change too. Because before I thought it was kind of secret. Like people didn't know, right? But the truth is that your friends are usually look the other way. Okay? They actually know. They actually freaking know. And that's what everybody finds out when they, for example, people that stop drinking when they're alcoholics, they ask their friends, they think their friends don't know. And their friends are like, yeah, I know you're always, you have your drinks over there and you think nobody knows. Everybody's like, he's like, why didn't you tell me? They're like, I don't know why. But people don't like to be confronted. Your friends look the other way. And I think, so back to the topic is like, just admit, accept, face shit as fast as possible. So in that spirit, like now go ahead and I want to kind of like let's talk about the way you presented it to me in the beginning, and then my response to you, like from your perspective, like you asked a question, you were feeling something. Obviously, I didn't know it was such a big deal. Like I was kind of like, you said something, you got something
You know
in
what?
a minute.
And it's actually settled down a lot, actually. But yeah, in the moment, I was needed. So, anyways, a good backstory. I live in a multi-family house. Pretty much everyone from my house went out to the bars the other night. Everyone was getting shit-faced, and I had to go to work, so I left. And one of my friends hooked up with the girl that I brought with me to the park. So I was like, well, I gotta go to work, so... and this guy's one of my closest friends in the world, so... So that's what it was, and I texted you because not so much what she did, whatever, but that one of my best friends would do that,
Yeah,
and
sure.
at the time, I felt so betrayed, really, at the moment. It was really, like, when I saw the text, I was like, what the fuck, really, like, so many emotions, so many things going through my mind.
Of course.
I was just trying to find out, trying to figure out how to kind of, like, ease it inside myself. And again, whatever for her. As far as she goes, it just kind of changes the way I look at her and interact with her, But
okay, but let's go back. Now you're rewriting. You're thinking you've progressed, right, since they asked the question. But I want to go back to that
100%.
night. You were destroyed, definitely, and that night, and it reminded me of times that I had things that destroyed me, and these things are very difficult. And I wanted to break down a couple things. So first thing is this guy was a friend of yours, okay, and he knows your family, and you were giving him a place to sleep on the couch. For how long?
He's been staying on probably about a month. He's been pushing on my futon.
Okay, so he's been sleeping in your house for free for a month, and then you got a girl, okay, and so he has private access to her because she's coming in the house and they're talking, and then at the bar you guys are drinking and you go to work and you leave them together. Oh yeah, and then you said that he said something about can I fuck her or something. He asked that like
no.
How long ago?
So that was a couple weeks ago that he made a pass at her. He made a mention of that. I was like, no. I told him like, no uncertain terms. Like,
wait. He made a pass at her, or he said he was going to make a pass at her?
No, he said he was going to. That he was going to try to get with her, whatever. Because it's not like a serious girlfriend. It's just a girl that comes around.
No. Yeah,
I know.
I'm going to totally disagree with this one. Okay. And
right.
I think it's important. Okay. And I can tell you this from experience. A lot of guys don't realize, like when they listen to this channel, they don't realize like that. I mean, I just got to say this. Like the reason why I was able to sleep with over 700 women is because I learned fucking hardcore shit here. You know what I mean? Like I was in the blender. I was in the hardcore game. Okay. And in that game, I got punched. Okay. I got stabbed. I got shot. Okay. I was in it is a tough game out there. Right. And you learn real lessons. You really learn about yourself, and you challenge your very being is challenged. Your very manhood is challenged all the time when you're sleeping with hundreds of women. It is like probably the toughest. It was also enjoyable at the time, but it is like brutal. Like a lot of guys, I had some guy email me the other day, and he was unclear with his question, and I said like, "What are you really asking?" And he goes, "Well, should I sleep with 700 women like you, or should I get married?" And I literally didn't even know what to say because I'm like, do you think you could do that? Do you honestly, like, with a question like that, do you think there's a slight possibility that you could even sleep with 30 women? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta know that different guys have different skills and different. You gotta give fucking respect, man. Fuck. This shit is not easy. Like, if I was lying, okay, that's, I guess, what he's assuming. If I was lying that this really wasn't me and I really didn't do this, then fine. Then he probably has a lot of friends who lie to him, right? They all lie to each other. Everybody looks the other way. But the problem is I'm telling the truth. I'm telling the fucking truth. And a lot of these women liked me, so they were hanging around with me. So it wasn't just 700 one night. I didn't like one night stands. I had like just girls. Like it was like literally like a sea of estrogen in my house. Like I almost went crazy. I'm serious at some point. It was like too many women, too much estrogen, too much craziness, too many like taboos broken, too many times they told me they're cheating on their husband. Like it was like too many like broken dreams and too many just like very, very difficult to accept things happened. But I have the personality that was able to take those blows, take those letdowns, and then say, okay, I'm going to learn something about people. Like I'm going to learn something about myself here. I'm going to continue. I'm not going to hate, because the thing is, if you go down the hater route, you can't continue. Like that's what people misunderstand with players. Is you got to be full of love to be a player. There is a sense that you have a sense of accepting and optimism about humanity to continue, because you hear all these things and you're like, wow, like holy crap, like, oh, I'm glad that's not me, like, oh my god, or it does happen to me, right? Someone deliberately tries to hurt me, like deliberately goes out of their way directly to stab a weak point in me, right? So there's all these things that you deal with. So all that is a background, like the idea that you can just do, it's like, should I become a billionaire like Warren Buffett? Or should I get a job? Now, I'm not saying I'm Warren Buffett, but you know what I'm saying? Like, just think for a second, guys. Just fucking think about who you're talking to. And I think about you too. I pay attention to who you are and your experience. It's like I look at you, Gabe, and I see a certain person, right? I'm not like, oh, me. I see you, and I appreciate you, as a friend, And so that's the thing. You have to kind of like, when you're asking a question, just, and the other thing is, here's one of the biggest things about questions, okay? Here is something new, okay? Most people who ask a how question, okay, how can I do this? How can I, save this money? How can I get rich? What they really should be asking is a when question, because they are not even ready to hear how to do something. Because the real question is when. So if a guy is, let's say, in a miserable marriage, okay, or in a miserable relationship, the question is not how to leave the girl, okay, or how to get free. The fucking question is when. When are you going to do it? Now there is also a how, of course, but the when question is something that most people don't ever say. Like when people ask me how, I want to say when. When are you going to fucking do it? When are you going to be tired? When is this not going to be acceptable to you? Or are you going to continue with this being acceptable, looking for hows, how to get rich, how to travel, how to, how to this, how to that. It's like sometimes many things in my life, it wasn't even how, it was when. It's like, when are you going to, like, for example, when I was in pickup, when I was doing that, it's like, when are you going to fucking go fuck some girl? Like, it's not even like, oh, give me all the skill. No, go do it. Just fucking go do it right now. That fucking chick right there. Go fucking fuck her. Go try. Go talk to her. Go do this. And it's a when question. And the same thing with travel. When I went to Japan or when I went around the world when I was in my early 20s, it wasn't how, man. I didn't know how. I bought a round the world ticket because I had a girlfriend who wanted to get married. I was 22 and she was really pushing me to get married. And I knew I wasn't ready to get married. I knew it because I had already a lot of girls and I was like, man, there's so many girls out there. Like I'm so young. I got to see more, I want to see more. And I was always interested in travel and all that too, right? But I was like, no, can't get married. No. And I also sensed that she didn't have my best interest in mind. And she didn't, that girl. But I was like, I got it. The only way I could get out of marrying her was by leaving the country. Because at the time I had so limited self-defense skills, But I did have, so I didn't have a lot of hows at the time. But I did have one thing. I had a desire and I had the guts to try something, So I said, look, I don't know how to tell my parents I'm not going to marry her. I don't know how to tell her this is all closing in on me. I don't know what to do. I know what I'm going to do. And a lot of people would say, you ran away. No, that's not true. There's one aspect of that I did leave the situation, but really what I did was I turned lemons to lemonade. I literally didn't know what to tell her. Okay, I don't know if you've ever been in that situation. You like literally don't know what to say. Like you just, no matter how hard you try, no matter how sincere you are, you just don't know the answer yet. And so the thing I had to do was, but you know that you don't want to do something or you do want to do, like there's that deep knowing that this is not right, but you don't know how to do it. Sometimes you just have to fucking do it. And that's what I said. I said, look, the one way I can not marry this girl is by leaving the country. Like this is my defense. I got to get out of here because I can sense something's closing in on me that I don't want. That's not good. And I don't even think this girl likes me. Like she wants to marry me, but I don't even think she likes me. But I didn't know. It was all complicated. I was 22. I'm like, shit, what do I do? And I'm like, and then I thought, okay, what should I do? I thought, okay, I always try to do this, kill two birds with one stone. So I said, I always wanted to travel. I always wanted to see the world. I always wanted to climb mountains, abroad. And I wanted to go to, festivals and the Brazilian carnival. I wanted to go to, to see Tokyo. I wanted to, so many things I wanted to see and do, right? And I thought to myself, okay, I'm not going to run away. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do something that I've always wanted to do, but I've never had the situation. And I realized, like, hey, I got nothing to lose right now. Like, I really need to leave. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. And I was just finishing university, so I didn't have a job either, So it was kind of perfect timing. So I thought, well, you don't have the money. The how is not there. You don't have the money. You don't know what you're doing. The internet didn't exist. I didn't have any clue of anything overseas at all. I literally didn't even know that England was an island. Like I didn't know anything. Okay. And I was like, I'm going to go around the world. And so I looked online. No, sorry. What am I saying? I looked online. I looked in the LA Times in the travel section and there was an ad and it said around the world ticket, $9.99. And I was like, wow, that's great. So it had all these countries, It was like really a lot of countries. And you could just get on the plane and then you just go to the next place and the next place, the next place. And you do it for a year for $9.99. I thought, well, fuck, this is the best thing because I don't know anything about overseas. I don't know what they do over there. I don't know what I'm going to do over there. I have no idea, but I'll just buy this around the world ticket. And this will kind of cover everything, right? It turns out that was the best decision because it got me to many different places and I saw many different things because my own fear would have made me settle down in the first place I got to, probably, But I was like, oh, I'm having such a great time in Denmark, but I got to go to India tomorrow, it was like that's the kind of ticket it was, right? So it got me all these places, right? And that's how I got to 50 countries before I was 26 because I just like was forced to. I think setting yourself up where you're forced to improve is a good thing to do, and that's what I see in you too. You're always like when you go to the events and you share honestly, you're saying right now is I am willing to be wrong and I'm willing to change and I want to fucking grow. I'm not happy
Yeah.
with the way things are. I want more, and
Right.
so
Yeah.
that's kind of like a background there. But okay, so back to the situation.
Yeah. Well, going back to what you're saying, thanks for calling me out on where you stopped me because I was doing that cool cowboy thing again, where
Okay,
being cool
let's describe
school,
that.
not being,
Let me describe that. So the cool cowboy was he asked you, can I hit on her, and then you said no, and then she sent you a text. Now, and you ignored it, and the text said, what did the text say?
it said something. Do you mind if we do the deed?
Okay.
I think
Do you
that's what
mind if
she
we do the
said.
deed? And your response, I gotta say, was not good. Okay, but it's very normal. Okay, so what you did is what every man does. You ignored the text, and then afterwards, when they did do the deed, you assumed that they had already done the deed before she sent the text. I'm here to tell you that probably that's not true. She probably
Yeah.
was not hadn't done the deed yet. Otherwise, she wouldn't have sent it to you. Okay, but also you're correct in another way to look at it because what is trust? What is love? What is friendship? What is a relationship? Okay, uh, the risk with men is that we think too simply about this stuff. So we say, oh, I'm not serious about her, so it doesn't matter. Okay, that's total bullshit. By the way, there's many
Yeah.
things that will bother you about this. Okay, one is he's your friend. Okay,
Right.
and then number two is you gave him a fucking free place to stay for a month. Okay,
Yeah.
and that is fucking outrageous. Okay, I mean, that is just fucking totally unacceptable. And a lot of guys who listen to my story about women think that I fucked other guys' girlfriends. They just assume. I never once in my life fucked my friend's girlfriend. Ever. Okay? I never ever did that. Part of the reason why I was good is because I was honest with myself. And people could trust me. My friends could trust what I said. And they could trust me in the field to not betray them. And I never betrayed a friend. Okay? I never betrayed a friend. I want to say that clearly. Because a lot of my old friends listen to this podcast. And they know this is the fucking truth. Not once did Ronin ever hit on their girlfriends, fuck their girlfriends, or wives. I would do it if I didn't know the guy. Okay, so if I met a girl in the street and she said she's married, I didn't even believe her at the time. I would be like, yeah, whatever, maybe she is. They'll say they have a boyfriend. It's not even. You don't even know if it's true or not. It's like it's very difficult. Basically, at the time, my mindset was there's two things. One is my friends, and the other one is unknowns. So with my friends, I know they're married. I know how they feel. It's like no fucking way. And in fact, I even take it to the extreme because sometimes we were both like I had a lot of friends who were also really good at pickup, so we'd fuck many girls. And so and I remember sometimes guys would say to me, why don't you? My old girlfriend, I don't want her anymore. You don't want you? Why don't you? And I would say no because, and they'd say, well, just go ahead. I don't care. I'd be like, no, because I know that you're going to change your mind. Okay. And he'd be like, no, I'm not going to change my mind. This girl's like this. And I'm like, no. No, I'm not going to fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I knew the way men are. And I know the way I am. Because, see, it's just like what happened to you. That same thing has happened to me. Okay, I knew that I would be upset if another guy, a friend of mine, fuck my girlfriend. And it doesn't have to make rational sense. Okay. Here is the deal about life is you feel a certain way. Usually there's a good reason, but even if there's not, sometimes you like tea over coffee. Okay. There's no scientific reason for that, right? You might like basketball more than football, or you might like rugby. It's not scientific. But when it comes to this kind of stuff, you have to know that you are essentially a complicated beast, okay? And you think you know how you feel. You don't fucking know how you feel. You might think you know how you feel right now, but you don't know how you're going to feel tomorrow. And that's one of the reasons why everybody gets the wrong jobs. Because they think, well, I'm going to become a doctor, I'm going to be happy. And they can become a doctor and they're not happy. You don't know how you're going to feel. Okay, that's the first thing. And especially when it comes to women. Because you don't know how she's going to use it against you. And how he's going to use it against you. Because some guys, especially if they don't have a lot of experience, if you give them a woman, they're going to flaunt it in front of your face. They will start to convince themselves that they seduced her and that you're not as good as them. I swear to God, guys can be really fucked up. And meanwhile, you're like gave the chick to him, right? I had that happen to me. I was like, dude, don't you remember? Like, I was like, man, that's sick. That is so fucking sick. But anyway, so okay, next part that you didn't think about, and I haven't said this yet, is that every breach of trust is gonna affect you. Okay, so she said, "Can we do the deed?" Okay, the reason why I say you were correct in your response of not answering in a way is because what you were thinking is it's already hopeless. So your mind was that they hadn't fucked yet. Okay, and I think that they hadn't. Okay, I think that it was actually true. But the reason why in the end, you're right. And the reason is I thought about it is because before you fuck, you kiss, you hug, you take off clothes, you go home with people, you flirt, you laugh, you cross 100 million boundaries before a guy fucks his friend's girlfriend. Okay, 1 million. And she did too. So in that sense, maybe it wasn't inserted yet, but the cheating was already happened. Okay. I'm not saying like what you should do about that, but I mean, there are 1 million reasons for you to be unhappy or be hurt by this. And it doesn't even matter if you consider her a serious girlfriend, a not serious girlfriend, because that all changes. I have had girls who, not many, but I've had a couple who for whatever reason, we ended up breaking up or not seeing each other anymore. And afterwards, I really fell in love with them. Like it happened a couple times. Like it was like while I was with them, it didn't really, she didn't really affect me that much. But for some reason, like when she left, and the feeling of her with some other guy, or I don't know what it was, if it was a jealousy, or if it was like love, or if it was like, feeling I made a mistake and I don't know what the fuck it was, but it was a very strong feeling. Okay, very strong feeling, and it happened after we broke up. So I will say that even if you think you're not serious about this girl, there's tons of people out there who have kids married and they're already dead. Okay, they live to 90 years old and they pass on their genes and all that didn't think they were serious about their husband or wife. Okay, those stories are a dime a dozen of like, hey, I didn't even take him seriously, and then he asked me out, I didn't want to go out with him. Yeah, well, no, let's just say the positive sense is that the girl says, like you see this all the time, old ladies, and they interview him and they'll say, I saw him, I always thought he was kind of a doofus, and this and that, and he asked me out, I said no, I tried to avoid him, blah blah blah, but this one day, we were by the river and he said this, blah blah blah, and then it worked out, right? And so a lot of times our feelings can change about people, about situations. And so that's the key thing to know about yourself. And this is why you can't even honestly answer the question. So when he asked you, could he, what did he say exactly? Could I hit on her? Could I make a pass at her?
I don't remember. It was weeks ago. He mentioned something about boning her, but I don't really remember the circumstances.
Oh, okay. So I will say that this is a different type of man than I want to be. Okay, because it's at the very least, it's an unthinking type of man. Okay, it's a very unthinking man.
It's probably fair to say about him.
Yeah, it's very unthinking because if I ask you, hey, do you mind if I sleep with your ex-girlfriend? I mean, honestly, that question is it's 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 a loaded question, and I know when I was young, okay, when I was in my 20s, I had two guys ask me that, and both times I answered like you. I kind of was like, yeah, kind of like the cool cowboy. It's fine, or kind of thing. The feeling was not that strong, okay, and I was kind of like, whatever. I don't really love her, that kind of thing, right? Whatever words I said, that was my feeling. Like, I'm a tough guy. It's going to be fine. But the truth is,
Right, exactly.
both times, both times, I fucking regretted the fuck out of it. Okay? I really regretted it, telling him that. Because I did not know who I was yet. Okay? And how I feel about things. Okay? For one thing, is any guy who asks me that can fuck off. Okay? That's just a point blank thing. If a guy asks me that, if a guy said, look, like let's say, in my player days, the guy said, look, he brings a girl over. He's like, yeah, you should fuck my friend Paul, whatever, and I fuck her. Like, I wouldn't do that, but I mean, like, let's just say the guy offered that, right? And then he said, hey, do you mind if I take one of your old ones? If in that scenario, okay, I could see the offer is real, right? But what you got from this fucking dickwad is something different. It was an attempt to bully you into saying yes. And it's also a very grotesque question. It's a very grotesque way to present this. And also, usually guys that are not good with women will ask these type of questions because they secretly envy you. Okay? They envy.
I will. He is pretty good with women though. This is
okay, but that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I mean that does negate part of it, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't envy you because of this girl. There often is a tinge of envy, maybe because he thinks this girl's special, maybe because she looks exactly the way he wants. Whatever the reason is he feels like you don't deserve her or something. There's a bit of delusion that guys have often, is they think. So, for example, this is very common. Now, whether it's true in this case or not, it's something to think about. Is when you meet somebody who is in good shape, your first thought, as most people, would be, he's lucky. That guy's so lucky because he is in good shape. Okay, instead of thinking, like of understanding. Wait a second. I got good grades, but I didn't go to parties, or like whatever the guy's story is, right? I read books. I like fail the things before I succeed. All the difficult things you have to do when you succeed in something, right? It's easy to assume that another guy, no, he's not like that. For him, it's easy, right? For him, I can just take his girl. It's fine, right? He's not going to mind, right? It's like rich people. Rich people, a lot of people that are not rich, think that rich people are just going to give them money because they think it was easy for that guy to get all that money. And it's unfair. And so he should just give some money to me, to even things out, because for him it's so easy and he should just flow some cash, right? This is a very big mistake, very, very big mistake of most of us. And to assume that it's hard for us, but it's easy for them. I would assume first that somebody's like me instead of assuming they're not like me. I work very hard for what I do. And my success in any field, in any area, whether it's sales or whatever it is, helping other people travel, different things that I've really wanted to do and succeed in. It was a hard journey, man. It was difficult, man. It was not easy, It was fucking goddamn fucking hard, And I had a lot of failure, before I succeeded. And even when I succeeded, I had a lot of failure afterwards. So I think, alternate. Yeah, could you turn off? Yeah. So okay. So sorry, this guy's turning on the air conditioner, which is thank you, which makes it noisy. So okay. So where was I there? Sorry.
you worked for.
Right. So the thing is, it's very easy to think that that's not the case with other men. That it's somehow easy for them. Let me close this door for the noise here. Just a second. Okay. So yeah. So like that kind of envy, that type of. I think the question is a bit of bullying question too, because it's young guys have difficulty standing up for themselves, and they want to be tough. It's something that everybody knows when you get older. Okay. And also, if you were evil, it would be easy to take advantage of, because you could just put them on the spot, ask them an impossible question, and you know that a young guy is going to say, "Oh yeah, I would charge that hill. I'm going to go shoot that guy. I'm going to go to war. I'm going to do this. You can fuck my. I'm tough. It's fine. I would go into that fight. I would do that. I would do that." It's a young guy's instinct, to say that, and you could take advantage of that, and that's just not right. I think that is retarded. Like, it's just. I really think that it's a bully type of question. Personally, I think it is. It's a terrible thing to do. It's a bully type of question, and the reason why it's difficult to get over these type of things is because there's so many breaches. There's you know what I mean? There's so many things that were hurtful or unthinking or just whatever. There were so many things along the way that happened that it's hard to put it all into one. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm okay with it kind of thing, right? Him asking that question is alone total banishment from my perspective. Just somebody asking that question. There's no need to explain. If you have a girlfriend, a girl you're dating, okay, and then somebody says, "Can I fuck her?" That is just an outrageous thing to ask. Where do you go with that? There's no need for you to go anywhere. You need to surround yourself with men who are on the same level, and to avoid men who would even push that type of thing, because that's just, it's retarded. Okay, and nobody wants to be like that. You don't want to be like that. You don't want your friends like that. So I would just take that as a if I could go back in time, if you could go back in time, I would say right at that moment. Okay, now here's another thing: is as you're deepening as a man, I guess that was the best way to put it. You are starting to get more in touch with yourself. You're starting to realize who you are. So I would ask myself, okay, if I was you, I would say, when he asked me that, how did I feel? Like that moment. And then I would write it down. And then I would say, how do I feel about that? Because the first thing I would think, if somebody asked me that question, is that they've already, okay, if he's asking, should he bone her? He's already broken a bunch of fucking rules, friendship rules. I can guarantee it, okay? That's not the way mating works. There was tons of stuff, and I'm going to tell you how serious I am about this. Okay, when I am with a friend's girlfriend, okay, and this happened to me once, and it was a perfect example for me. I went over to, or it was his wife or whatever, I was staying at his house, and I went over to the refrigerator, and I opened up the fridge to get something, okay, like just to eat something or whatever. And the woman, she stuck her head down in the fridge, like she like looked, she put her head down there, and she looked at me, very, fun, like I was saying something, and she came and answered. It was a playful, flirty thing for her to do, okay, and I realized right then that infidelity or cheating or fucking your friends over, it starts way before you actually do it. Okay? So when I say I don't do it, I don't even allow my eyes to meet hers. And I remember that moment, I looked at her and I knew right away she wanted me to drill her against that fridge. I guarantee you, because she knew my background. She knew I had like a lot of girlfriends. And she was very interested in me. Okay, this particular girl. And she was hot too. She was definitely doable. Okay, that's 100%. And and she was in a position because I know women. I could sense. I could feel. I really am like a wolf or a shark in this moment. I know when women are ready to do it. It's just something that I learned. It's so instinctual. Now, often I have to ignore it because I don't want to always do it. But I know at a party, I know in the bus, I can tell which one. And sometimes I'll come up to them and I'll look them straight in the eye and I'll say something, and they'll be like, afterwards, they'll be like, "How did you know?" Like girls will often say that to me, like, "How did you fucking know?" Like it's like they're almost kind of like frustrated, like, "How did you fucking read my mind so easily?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I just knew, and I went straight up to you, you know. And so, and that was one of my skills, right? But that knowing told me that this was even hotter than usual, is what I'm saying. This girl was into me. She liked the fact that I had many girlfriends and made, like, a lot of social proof. And her husband did not. And she liked the fact that it was naughty or wrong. Okay? And she liked everything about the situation. He was gone. And it was definitely, if I would have gone there, I can tell you, it would have been animal sex. Okay? Guaranteed. Okay? It was all there. I mean, I don't even want to describe the way she was leaning over and all that. Enough to know. Right? And as soon as she looked at me with those eyes, okay, that's the key thing, was the eyes. Is that it was sparkling like the fucking sun, right? And I thought to myself, do not look at those eyes. Like I looked at the fucking milk, and I just thought, this is a great lesson for you. Never go down that path, because once you look in the eyes, then the girl is hypergamous. She is who she is. Okay. And we all are who we are. Okay, so I'm not saying that in a negative sense. There is something in her that was like very excited. There was maybe even beyond what she would logically think. Anyway, but I cut it off right then. And I stared at the fucking milk. And I remember it broke the spell. She looked at me. She knew what I did right away. She was handing me a hot session. She was literally like, "Here's my gift to you." And I was like, "I'm going to stare at the milk." even though she knew that I was very, very capable of choosing another thing. But she knew I had made a choice. And it calmed down right then. She never did it again. Because she knew I was a loyal friend. I was not going to go there. I was not going to fool myself like other guys. Other guys, they fucking fool themselves all the time. Don't fool yourself. I'm not saying don't do it or do it. I'm just saying don't fool yourself. I cannot stand when I'm in a business situation and I hear people flirting, and the girls will be talking sexual sometimes, very common in an office, and the guys will hear this because everybody's bored in an office, okay, you know, and the girls will be talking about just some kind of sexual situation that is it's designed to. It's kind of a beacon, or it's like a beep beep beep, sending it out to the guys. Who's going to respond to this, right? And it's almost like all the guys are sitting there like, okay, how are we going to handle this, right? You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about, this situation?
Yeah.
Okay, so the guy who responds is the weakest guy. And the women know it. And the guy who totally doesn't respond is also weak, because he doesn't even know what's going on. Or he doesn't know how to handle it, or he's not secure. But the guy who's like, jumps right into it and starts talking like, like not directly, but you know how it is, politically correct. He's somehow riding the wave of eroticism in the conversation, right? And then the other guy doesn't even know what to do, you know. And then, but there's other people like me who I understand what's going on, but I will like deliberately and not understand. And I said this in the Black Box episode, but guys will say, like, the girls will keep, because they'll realize, like, they look at me and they're like, this guy is the kind of guy who knows exactly what we're doing. Like this guy knows, And then why can't we get him into a conversation? Like let's get into a lascivious, and let's get into this under flirting. I don't do the under flirting thing because it's not going anywhere. There's no benefit for me as a man in writing. This is a fake excitement. It's very fake. When I decide I'm going to go in, it doesn't matter even if I did work. I might decide I'm going to go in directly to her. I'm not going to flirt with all the girls and it's like a jerk off. It's retarded. No, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go in and I'm going to fuck her pussy. And that's what's going to happen. And it's going to be a decision. I'm going to go in now. Of course, a lot of guys listeners don't know me. Obviously, okay, like this is the most obvious thing in the world. Anybody who could talk this delicate and detailed about stuff is not going to push where he's not wanted. Okay, if anybody misunderstands that, you need to understand that right now. Is that the beacons are on for me, all the sensors, the feathers, they're feeling the vibe of everything, and that's why I was successful. And the girls like that. They like a guy who actually knows what's going on, who's not like clueless, but at the same time doesn't always jump into things, right? So that all is a background. So yeah, so your friend, this guy, okay, he's grotesque. He's kidding himself. He's probably envious of you at some level, I bet you. He lies to himself. He had already breached many, many rules of friendship before he said, "Can I bone her?" Okay, so if you had, think about it afterwards, but if you had some kind of intuition that he was somehow not your good friend, you need to go back and think about that. Okay, before he asked you, you want to start to, what you want to do, and this is my best advice, you want to start to get in touch with yourself so you know who you are better. And your internal guidance system is very good. It's just that most guys don't listen to it. So in order to train that to become more sensitive, you want to go back and say, wait a second, what breaches, like looking at the milk, okay, in the refrigerator, what breaches did he do before that? Or she did? Or banter, or joking, or laughing, or something that you didn't understand that was happened when you weren't there. I don't know. You came back from the bathroom, they were giggling. I don't know. But you want to go back and say, wait a second, why was I ignoring that? And what signs did he give me in advance? Because you want to get to the point where you're very in touch with things, where you're like, okay, this guy's not my real friend. This fucking guy is actually hitting on my fucking girlfriend. Like, that is such a stupid thing to do. For one thing, it's such a weak thing to do. It's so easy to fuck other guys' girlfriend, your friend's girlfriend. It's the easiest thing in the fucking world, right? This is a retard, okay? I don't care. You say he's good at game. This is retarded. No, I don't agree. This is retarded. Like, this is such a weak man, to do this, So, I'm not saying anybody can't be like this and change. I'm not saying the guy's destined to go to hell. I'm just saying, like, spade is spade. Facts are facts. This fucking guy is kidding himself on many levels. And you knew it. You already knew it. And when he asked you that question, it was like a bomb. And then you knew. And okay, here's the other thing. Is think back to what you said to him when he asked you that. Okay. You said no or something, right? And I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to do that.
Yeah.
If you could go back in time and really get in touch with that black hole, that death inside of you, where you are almost like just feeling the universe, like you're just in it, right? What would you actually say to him? Because my question, I would have a lot of questions. I would already know that he's betraying you. He has betrayed you long before he betrayed you, and has totally different morals and values than I have, right? Because I would not do that. And I don't care how hot the girl is, literally. Okay, I would not do that. I don't allow myself to go there. Just like I've never committed a lot of crimes, okay? I've never allowed myself to go there. Of course, we're all capable of every crime there is. But we somehow control ourselves with certain crimes, right? And certain crimes we're okay with, right? And that gives an insight into our personality, right? Of course, there's times when we're so angry we want to do this or we want to do that, right? Or we're so envious, but we control ourselves. And other things we can't control ourselves. That tells you a lot about yourself, right? So I'm not saying like no one's perfect here. I'm just saying like you also have not committed every crime in a fucking book. And there's a reason for that. You controlled yourself. And you need to learn how to control yourself if you want to have friends in life. Men, you need to understand this one, is that there is no breach. There is no, even if they ask you, if a guy said, like this is a true story. A guy said to me once, okay, in Tokyo, guy I knew for many years. He said to me, his name was Steve. And Steve said, hey, and his girlfriend, they were breaking up, right? And he said, oh, Mio and I are breaking up. He said, and I was in Shanghai now. I'd moved to Shanghai. He said, you should fuck Miho. And I was like, whoa, because Miho was pretty hot in my mind. Miho was definitely for me, she was attractive. I knew Miho quite well, actually. And not even before he dated her, right? So then I said, it was a weird offer. And I sensed kind of insecurity in his voice. And so we hung up the phone, and I said, Steve is not the most secure guy. He's probably offering this to me because he knows that I'm a cool guy. Like I was very confident already. And good women, I helped him out. I had given him a lot of stuff. And you know what I mean? Like we had done a lot of things. He was probably trying to pay me back, or he was trying to prove that he was the cool cowboy who doesn't care. Because he saw the way I was. And in many ways, I was naturally, I had learned that things don't matter. So you look like a cool cowboy, but you're actually not inside. But you just realize it's hopeless, or things come to an end, or whatever. You kind of now understand, and you can do things not based on being cool, but based on reality, right? So either way, he saw that in me, and he said, you should fuck me. So I said, look, I said on the phone the first time, I said, look, Steve, think about it, okay? Because this had never been offered to me before, because this was his girlfriend, okay? This wasn't like just some girl. I had passed around girls before with friends, but this was different. This was his girlfriend. And I knew for him that was a big deal. He only had one girlfriend. And so I said, look, Steve, I didn't know what to say, to be honest. I was completely blown away by this. It happened on the phone, Skype, or whatever. So I said, Steve, think about it, And so then we talked like a week later, and he said, I thought about it, and I think you should, you totally should, And I was like, no, that's not enough, Steve. I'm like, I don't want you to regret this. I want you to really think about this one. I know you liked her. I'm sure you're going through a lot of things right now. I got plenty of girls. I don't, you know what I mean? Don't say that. Because the thing is, she was taking a business trip to Shanghai. Okay. And then finally, the third time he called me, and he said, look, I won't respect if you don't fuck her. You have to fuck her. She wants it. She needs it. She's going to Shanghai. You got to fuck her. Okay. Now, that was the green light that was enough for me. Okay. So I said, okay, I'll fuck her. Right. So when she came to Shanghai, okay, and this is the only time that everything is great, okay? And this guy begged me 3 times over 2 or 3 weeks, okay, to fuck her. And so she came, and I did fuck her, okay? And he got very jealous. And I realized that even if a guy begs you to fuck his girlfriend, even if you give him weeks to think about it, even if you guys have a very honest, deep relationship, you still shouldn't do it. There is no excuse. This is what I learned from that. Is I already had a very clear value system where I would never screw my friends' girlfriends. I would never take them. I would never flirt with them. I would never go there. But my mind was maybe if they really want you to, really, maybe after they're broken up for a long time, maybe there's maybe that's okay. And so I did go there, and And then, I could tell he was very, very angry afterwards. And I thought to myself, well, my first reaction was, what the fuck is he saying to me? But then I realized something deeper. I realized us men, we don't know how we feel. We don't know how we're going to feel. Nobody knows. Don't do it to yourself. Don't do it to your friends. We're all human. We're all insecure. It just depends on how much we like the girl. And our feelings can change over time. So never, ever say yes. Okay? And either one, whether you do it or he does it or anybody does it, your friends' wives and girlfriends are off limits forever. Okay? That's my rule. I learned that from Mio. I was like, like they're off limits. You just never, there's no point in ever breaking this rule in my mind. Now, maybe somebody on the internet is going to say, hey, I understand exactly what you're saying, blah, 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 but I had one situation where it was okay. Maybe if the guy dies, maybe if the guy dies, you know what I mean, and you were at the funeral. But I kind of think no. I've thought about it. There was a Japanese porn that was like the guy fucks his best friend's wife at his funeral, and yeah, it was a pretty good video actually. But I thought to myself, is that cool, right? And I thought that's not cool. It's even if the guy's after he's gone, because it's not even about that. It's about you more than about him. What kind of friend are you? What have you thought through your values? Now, I came to my values through a lot of experience and a lot of grinding it out. And that last example with my friend Steve, was kind of like the last lesson for me that there are no exceptions for me. There, no matter how much, no matter how long, no matter if he's passed away, I won't go there. And that helps me too. Because if you have doubts, you're going to be tempted to catch eyes with her in the refrigerator. If you have any doubts. And so Miho erased all doubts for me. And that is even the case, even though I got to tell you, it was super hot with Miho. Fuck, it was insanely hot. Okay. So I'm saying that because that tells you like how serious I am. Like even for a very hot situation, it is not worth it. Even if he begs you, even if he's dead, it is just don't go there. And you will. These type of situations, these type of things are so rare. Okay, to have a friend who is wise, who is experienced, who is disciplined, who knows himself. Okay, who has a sense of humor about the whole thing. Because in the end, you gotta fucking have a sense of humor about this shit, right? You know what I mean? You can't take it too seriously. You know what I mean? It's like at the same time as you have your rules, but you're like, goddamn women and goddamn men. You know?
Yeah. Well, that's how I feel about the situation. And when it was happening, I was kind of spiraling a little bit. So I started going, internet, YouTube, whatever. Start looking, trade, friend, whatever, looking for solutions, when I texted you. And, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so everything was so, cliche and stupid. All the answers were like, oh, you have to forgive them so you don't carry around that pain. Forgive them for yourself. Just the most cliche bullshit. And it was just like the way. All right, first of all, I think a lot of these people that were writing these things have never been in this kind of situation because the situation's complicated. It's not some simple, okay, you're hurt, but you have to release the pain so that way you don't carry it around with you. And it's all just very cliche. And it was treating people like solving something on a sitcom where everyone has the emotional maturity of like a 14-year-old.
Right.
No answers were actually going anywhere. Like they're just even touching the surface. Everything else, so it's totally worthless. Totally worthless.
Let me say, because when you asked me the question, I said you should Google it, right? At first, right? And I looked online. I Googled it myself. So I thought there must be some good advice on this, right? So I Googled it, and
Yeah.
it was exactly like you said in my perspective too. It was complete bullshit. It was like,
Yeah.
like the best advice was like, tell her to pack her bags. You know, he's a fucking shit friend. Throw his shit out the window. It was haters. It was really not helpful advice from people who had no experience. Was basically what I saw.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
so I realized that I needed to make this episode. And also I realized that you trusted me enough to ask me and push me because you looked online first, right? You're not lazy. You like looked online and you're like, this is shit advice. Maybe Ronin knows better than these fucking guys on the internet.
Yeah.
And that's a huge compliment to me. Huge compliment. And I really appreciated it. As soon as you said that, I realized what you're really saying. I was like, wow, that is like so much trust and so much, it's based on the experience we have, but it's like, we all have different skills and experiences, right? And you sense that this one I might know something about. So I appreciate that. And it got me really thinking. That's why I wanted to make an episode too. Because I'm like, wait a second. If the advice is so bad online, we need to do something. We need to get into, because, okay, here's the thing. The last thing I want to say about this is there's two ways to look at everything. What should you do and how should you change? I think that a lot of guys' advice, the best advice, is still on the aspect of what should you do. Okay? And what I say is these type of things are awakening calls for you. And they're opportunities for you to become who you want to be and to see the weaknesses you have in yourself and to change these things forever. So that the same thing cannot happen because you literally are not the same person because you've thought about everything. You when someone does something, you're like, okay, I can see where this is going. Like I'm gonna nip this one in the bud, right? You know what I mean? I'm gonna say how I feel now, or you'll even think like, how do I feel about this? Like, wait a second, what has he fucking done already? Like, or have you flirted with her? Like, that kind of thing. Oh yeah, one other thing I did want to say. I wanted to say one other thing is in the sense of the what should you do or how should you handle it, right? That is worth mentioning a little bit. Okay, so when she sent the response, when she sent the question, should we do the deed? The best, there is no perfect response, and a lot of MGTOWs would say, just go, basically like go crazy, throw shit out of the house, throw your shit, whatever, like all this stuff. And I understand that. Okay, I'm not saying it's completely wrong. I'm just saying like what I would, my experience is it's all this shit is so gray. It's so fucking gray. There's not black and white. Okay,
Right.
here's one thing I noticed is that a lot of men are afraid of saying that they like a girl. They're just afraid of admitting that they have emotions. And so because of that, they'll say, well, I don't care. And actually, they really, 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 really do care. Okay?
Yeah.
And so
that's the cool cowboy thing that led me to this situation, for sure. Absolutely.
That's the difficult thing. Is like, even if you're MGTOW, even if you're a monk, you feel things. Okay? You have fucking feelings. And they're real. Okay? You cannot control this. You cannot stop this. 98% of the things in your life are from your subconscious mind. Your breathing, your emotions. Your conscious mind is a very small percentage of what you perceive and how you feel. Okay? Most of your life is walking. Your legs are all moving by subconscious, right? Muscles are all connecting. Everything is going on. And so a man needs to know that there are times. Okay, here's how it gets really complicated. Is a player, okay, or somebody with multiple girlfriends, okay? You need to know when to be the complete opposite. Okay, so you're so used to playing and having fun. You need to know that you're a human being. And there's going to be certain girls that you're going to like and you're going to care about. At certain times especially, really strong. And as you get better or more in touch with who you are as a man, okay, because that's what all this is about, improving yourself as a man, is you realize that you can really love some girl. And you might even love somebody you never see again. I mean, it's all this complicated stuff. So putting a stake in the ground, and what I would say is your how advice, if you go back in time, of course, it was to go back to when when your friend started to give off the signals that he was going to betray you. Okay, and it was before you asked the question, but that's what I would. My best advice is go back there. But let's just say at the moment when she sends the text, is to call her right then and say, look, I need to know what has happened before this. You know, like I need to know. You tell me right now. Did you guys kiss?
Yeah.
Yeah. How many times? What happened? Where are you now? What is your state of dress? How do you feel about it?
Yeah.
You know, how do you feel about me? How do you feel about the situation? And a lot of guys are so afraid of this kind of conversation because it goes against a lot of the things I've been saying, but it's not against. Because, like I said, we are complicated people. And women, here's the strange thing. Women don't like a weak guy. Okay? They don't like a guy, everybody knows that. You know, they don't like a beta, this and that. But part of being alpha or more alpha is to be willing to take a risk. That is very alpha, actually. And women know that. Women know that. So if you come to a girl and say, don't do it, you know, that's different. But if you say, look, I just want you to know that I don't know how I'm going to feel after this is all over, but I liked you. Okay? I cared about you. I don't know if you realize that. You might not realize that. Maybe that made you insecure. I don't know. But anyway, how I feel. I liked you. And it makes me very sad to think that you're on the verge of having sex with my friend, because it's one thing to cheat on me. It's another thing to cheat on me with my friend. It's a different level. Especially a friend that was staying in my house, you know. So I have a lot of complicated feelings right now. But I also there's a responsibility is to say how I feel. And I did like you, you know. And I think saying something like that could change everything. Because the girl could break down and say, oh my God, like this fucking guy is amazing. Because he's not attacking me. And at the same time, he's like, is still in control of his feelings, and he's thought about it. Like he actually does care. But at the same time, he's not telling me not to do it. He's not saying he's going to do anything. He's not going crazy. Like he's very in control of himself. And a lot of times women will totally shift when a man takes that risk of saying how he feels and puts it out in a way that's palatable for her. And that's the kind of thing that could totally change her view of you. Because so few men can do it all. And when you're able to share how you feel, realizing that it might not matter, realizing that there's a lot of other things you could be doing, right? This creates great respect in the woman, even if she did fuck the guy. She'd be like, fuck this guy. Like she'll tell her friend too. She'll tell her friend, she'll say, fuck this guy. Like, you know, it was amazing. Like he was like, and I realized I probably made a mistake. Like this guy is a fucking solid dude. Like this guy is fucking. See, the thing is, here's the thing. Girls are looking for a man. Okay, at some animal level here, right? They're looking for, and I'm talking feminist, every woman, all women are looking for a man. Some subconscious level, or a woman, whatever it is if they're gay. But they're looking for somebody who is going to captain the ship through the storm of life. There's something inside that the storms come, the waves, 100-foot waves, the wind, everything gets broken, the seas, and you know, and that guy somehow is capable of taking her safely. Right? She wants that. And when you show her your variety of emotional capacities and also variety of disciplines, you can have her. You really become more of the man that you want to be by being able to do both, right? You know what I mean? Like if she goes,
Yeah.
she goes. But at the same time, you're like, hey, I really did care about you, and it started when you said this little thing or whatever. It's like or even you could say, this whole thing has really made me realize, you know, this and that and this
Yeah.
and that, and you say, I'd like to meet you, and you could meet her, right? And she will leave that guy. There's something in women, even if you fuck it up. Okay, let me tell you the story of last night in the train. I was thinking about this last night, and it was a perfect example happened. Perfect example. I was walking around Lumpini Park, and they closed the park at 9, so I went on the train and the MRT, and there was a girl who was attractive, quite young, and she was with a large group of people, and they were not from Bangkok, you could tell, and they were all like laughing and joking, and it was kind of an awkward situation when I walked in, like it was kind of an empty train, and there's these little things to hold, for your hand, and there was no place to hold except for the one right in front of her, the young girl, and who I got the awkward vibe from. So I literally I don't like standing there because my knee. I can't stand there without the holding the hand thing because otherwise my knee. I'm always worried it's going to get twisted the wrong way on the train. It's one of the weird movements that is dangerous for my knee. So I always like to grab onto something. So I don't want to be the cool cowboy when it comes to my knee. So I'm like, okay, I gotta get the handle, and I grabbed the handle right in front of her, and then it was like she was like very feminine and smaller than me, and she looked up at me, and her eyes were like definitely attracted, and then the whole group started laughing. Okay, it was all older people, like it must have been her family, and then her boyfriend, who was standing cool cucumber 5 meters away, he ran over, and he like very awkwardly like stuck his arm around her in front to block me from her, and I wasn't even hitting on her. I was literally just holding on to the fucking hand thing, and I'm kind of observing what was going on. Feeling the mood. It was kind of interesting. There was something going on, I could tell. And he blocked me, and he grabbed her. And it worked. It might not work a lot of times, but it was very awkward, actually, the way he did it. He didn't do it, like, cool. It was bad, but the thing is, the girl, you could see in her mind, she was quite attracted, but his movement, which could be interpreted as weakness in another situation, was accepted by her. Her emotional system accepted this man's gesture. I could tell. And it was very clear that we were not going to lock eyes anymore. Because I didn't even know she was with anybody. You know what I mean? And
yeah, right.
And so sometimes you need to be willing to look like a fool in interactions with women, either by telling how you feel, knowing it's going to be run over by a truck in 2 seconds, right? And also the sense of one of the things that guys have is they're so out of touch with their feelings, and they're so trying to be cool that they don't know how they feel. They've never bothered to think that how you feel is not how I feel, and how you feel today is not how you're going to feel tomorrow, and how you feel about this woman changes all the time, right? But so most men don't have any capacity to even know what they're feeling. So when you can state clearly how you feel, it shows a lot to people. And it'll show you, when you impress yourself too, it gives you confidence. Because before you weren't able to do that, but now you are, right? And so you'll get this sense of confidence like, wow, like no matter what she does, like in the end, it doesn't have that much to do with you, right? You as a man is the main thing, right? And you're like, okay, like, wow, I was able to fucking do that now. Like I was able to, in the midst of the storm, the captain of the ship, I was able to, in the midst of the madness, I reached deep down inside myself and said exactly what I'm proud of saying. And it doesn't matter how it's responded to, right? It doesn't matter. Because if you do that on a regular basis, your life will get better. You will feel better, and you will know more who you are, and you will choose better friends, and you will choose better situations, and you'll respond in ways that you're proud of. right? And that's the
So
thing. It's just like your feelings. Your feelings, everybody
I
knows
just
how you feel, right? And the things that you do that you're embarrassed about. So let's say you did something really embarrassing now. Let's say you went to her house and you threw like dirt on her car or something, right? You know what I mean? And, let's say you threw some soup on her car or something, right? And then you came back. You would feel like an idiot, okay? I'm not saying, but the thing is, the less things you do like that, even if no one sees them, you see them, right? So you
yeah.
know who you are. And so when you move on this path of like becoming deeper, better as a man, you also know that even if nobody else knows, you know, because that's what it's all about. That's the bottom line, is that you know. So it doesn't matter, right? That's all I got to say on that. You got anything else on there?
So just one quick question: is there ever a good time? Like, when's the good time to be the cool cucumber, cool cowboy? What's the difference between that and being a black box type of?
Okay, so cool cucumber. Just give me a situation that's in your mind so I can understand what you mean.
Just like in this situation where there's like a girl that you're into, but you just, I don't know, that I have this impression of don't be too eager. So it's like, play it cool. But that's what bit me in the ass here.
Well, of course, it depends on the situation. I'm talking about a very rare situation. But
Yeah.
I think in general, the more experience you have, and the more you know yourself, and the more confidence you get from being able to stand up, you will know, Gabe. It will become like your internal guidance system. You won't have to ask. You're going to know the right thing to do. That's the situation. That's the reality. Is that you will know right now, you know more than you used to know. And tomorrow you will know more. And in a year you're going to know more. And you'll know more and you'll know more because you're on the right path. So naturally things will start coming to you, and then suddenly like it'll be like a waterfall of understanding of what you should do, right? In any situation. So that's what you're doing. You're grinding it out in this one situation. That's why we're going so deep into this, because these are the type of things that give you a million learnings, and those learnings are like they're like data for artificial intelligence. Together, your mind will sift through them, the database, and look through things, recategorize them, and add in details, and then eventually you'll get intelligence out of that, right? So it's like another experience that you're fully analyzing, understanding, and coming at it with a very humble, mature, uh, open, uh, willing to look like a fool, vulnerable, uh, because a lot of it's about being vulnerable too. You know, it's about being honest, right? Being vulnerable is don't put that one down. That's a serious part of this. All of life is being vulnerable and being willing to change and be willing to be wrong. And that's why when I see guys who are so far away from that, it's so difficult for me because I'm like, oh no, I'm like, oh man, we got to go back. Oh, but that is my feeling, and that is true. But we also have to all go through this journey. So, and I go eat some food. I get back in a good mode, and I deal with it with the next. You know what I mean? The next situation, because in the end, we are all weak creatures, and not only do we have to do that for other people, but we even need to do it for ourselves. Because there could be a moment when I could be utterly embarrassed of myself and my actions, and I can be doing this to myself, and just be going like, "How could you do this? How could you fall? You know what I mean?" And like, not just for somebody else, but for myself, and that's the truth. Is that we never get to a state. We get better and better. We make less and less mistakes. We get more and more in touch with ourselves. We have more and more tools. We have more and more honesty. We have better and better friends. And this is going to be an upcoming episode, is that we all have our kryptonite. And there's going to be a time when everything is going to fall apart in your life. Everything, every self-defense mechanism, every protection, every strength, everything will disappear. And then you will be tested at the deepest level as a man again. And that is a good thing. And that is a good thing because that will get you to a deeper level. Or you'll have the choice. Are you going to go down the fake route? You know, doing something to ignore it or lying to yourself.
I mean, it might sound silly, but I'm super, in some way, excited about this whole situation. I'm like, oh shit, something's happening. And I recognize it as a time where I get to see a lot of internal happenings in myself. And I get to realize stuff. I'll just say that. I get to realize some new things about myself and how I don't love the situation. Immediately I recognize it as a learning, growing experience. I just want to say to anyone that's listening that this is pretty much essentially how I'll go with Ronin. This is pretty much identical. It's just this one's recorded. But if you do Unblackmailable, this is pretty much what it is. So
cool, man. Hey, that's what I do to my fucking self. I grind myself out every day, man. Fuck. That's how I know how to do it, because I fucking grind myself. It's fucking awesome to have you on the journey. And I'm looking forward to fucking Australia, because you're coming, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When are you going? Do you know when you're going?
No, I don't know the dates yet, but we can talk about that more offline. So.
Okay, I got mine. I'm going to be going in December, like mid-December, and I'll be there for just over a month. So I just got invited to Sydney to a friend of mine. He's like very, very cool guy, very high-profile kind of guy, and he wants me to go and party with him in Sydney. So we'll see. I might go there before the summit. It's been like a childhood. It's ever since childhood. Thinking about Australia. I was studying about Australia. So I'm looking forward to going there. Very looking forward to it. So if anybody has any crazy ideas, like pretty up for it, to be honest. So so it's definitely going to be a very good time. All right, Gabe. Thanks so much. Thank you, everybody, for listening all the way to the end. And we'll either see you on the next episode or maybe at the one of the get-togethers, one of the summits, right?